Are you ready to start, or do you need more time? Okay. Please, we're on a distance. It's been a long time since I've been.
Good evening. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming tonight. This is the first of our professional development workshop series. If you haven't seen the flyers yet, feel free to grab one on your way out. We are going to be offering professional development opportunities monthly. Tonight's topic is fine motor. There are some flyers with some future dates, and inside your little materials guide is a program evaluation. If you have any suggestions for us for those to be determined workshops that we're trying to figure out for the spring, please go ahead and jot those down if there's anything you'd like to see us present on. And if you have any other suggestions on how we can make this better or get the word out in the community. These workshops are being funded through a grant. If you haven't heard, Faulkner County was awarded one of the 5 mixed delivery grants in the state of Virginia. Part of that grant is to provide professional development to the different daycares and preschools in the community. So please, if you like tonight's workshop, go out and spread the word. As you know, we're live streaming it, so if you have friends that have kids or can't come, they can log in. It will also be recorded, so we will somehow get it posted so that people will be able to click on the links. So if you want to go back for future reference or refer it to somebody else, that will be available to you all. Let's see what else we've got here. Certificate of attendance. Those of you that need certificates of attendance, when you turn in the evaluations on your way out, you'll be given a piece of paper that has the hours on it if you need that. And restrooms. If you go up the hall and to the left is the women's room, and if you go up the hall and straight down is the men's room. And we've got extra pizza, so if your table runs low, we'll try to swap it out, but if we miss you, feel free to just grab another one as well as water for your table. And I think that's it for my announcements. So without further ado, I will introduce our speaker. This is Lisa Artaud. She is one of our occupational therapists with Faulkner County Public Schools. She's been an occupational therapist for over 30 years. 15 of those years have been with the county. And you are in for a fabulous presentation tonight. So without further ado, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. This is just like one of the joys of my life, is to be able to share my knowledge, my experience, possibly a few stories, and then some of the fun toys and techniques that we have and use as occupational therapists in the public schools. And we are here to talk so much about the developmental, foundational information and ideas to make things fun for kids to learn. And what we're doing tonight is focusing, of course, on fine motor. And in the school system, often the things when we interview kindergarten teachers, what's lacking, what's missing as preschool is transitioning into kindergarten, what skills do they need to work on? And the 3 top ones, of course, were coloring, cutting, and pre-writing. So that's what we're going to hone in on tonight. My main point when I talk about this, I have to be careful because I believe there's a physical therapist in the house. You need to make sure and say how important. Gross motor, large muscles are essential for fine motor muscles. We call this developing proximal to distal. You have to have stability here to have mobility out here. So shout out to PTs. We'll have a physical therapist give a presentation, I believe, in December. But that's a really good point to make sure that when we're talking about the hand, it's more than the hand. It's going to be core strength as well. And we also have sensory processing. Boy, we've been talking about that as the years have gone by. How many people are familiar with sensory processing? You've heard of SPD, sensory processing disorder. And how that relates to handwriting, it is taking in the information in your environment, having your brain make sense of it, and and then putting something out there after it's been melding in there for integration. So, for instance, right now, anybody hear the humming of the refrigerator, the ice maker in there?
Yes.
Fans ahead, that little peripheral vision. Perhaps there's a breeze. Consider that touch. There's touch, the smell of pizza in the room, those sorts of things. Sensory processing. If somebody has problems integrating that, it can have some output production issues. So that's something we take into account as OTs. Visual perceptual, visual motor. There's acuity, which we all know about. Look at the glasses. Do you see far? Do you see near? Acuity, 20/20. But there's also perception. So how, again, does your brain interpret that information and then say, oh, this is what I need to do? Like reversals, B's and D's. I see it, and then when I put it out there, it's different. Your brain is still integrating that information. And then we also have, a lot of preschool teachers will get this, we have some reluctant writers, some reluctant coloring kids. Some kids aren't developmentally, cognitively ready for it, but some would rather just play trucks or go out there in the sandbox and do the gross motor things. And that's okay, but we take that into account. What are your areas of interest? So I'm here and I'm going to focus a lot on the hands today, but I also want you to know there are other factors that all come into this. And it would be like a weekend retreat to touch on all of those. So I'm just bringing it up right now to bring it to your attention. And just as runners need to prepare their bodies for a race, children need to prepare their hands for school. We are the coaches and we are the trainers, parents, teachers, therapists. It takes a team to help get our kids ready for school. And we're talking about the transition from 3 and 4 years old, preschool to kindergarten. And with that, you have to take into mind 3 and 4-year-olds are not equipped. They are not ready to hold those skinny little pencils that we get in kindergarten and then start spilling out letters and numbers. They're not. Their hands need to develop. Their brain is still integrating information. They need that core support with their body. They're not quite ready. Our job is to get them ready. So as I'm sharing information tonight about what we look for in kindergarten, I'm still going to throw some stuff back at you about development. And we all know this. Kids have those splinter skills where maybe their speech takes off and they are no longer doing fine motor, or they learn how they're walking and they're so excited that they're just not talking as much. So they do have variation in development, and that's going to be true for preschool growing on into kindergarten. All right, kindergarten skills, coloring, rewriting, and cutting. It is so important how you do what you do. And I think this is kind of fun when you like Google some images to put on PowerPoint. How you do matters. I'm going to teach you that cutting in that upper corner is not so great. Like we're going to change that. But I love that she's diving in on this, but this is real life. This is how kids do cut. I had to throw in there how crazy it can be, how messy it can be, how sometimes we have the kid with their chin on the table rather than having that really proper posture. This is real life. And if you're just aware of what's typical, but what we want to be mindful of, and then pick our battles. What are we going to work on first to help those skills get developed? But that is the real thing. So looking at the how we do is very important. I'm going to back up a little bit now and talk about why are kids not prepared? I think just to have that foundational experience of what is going on nowadays that has changed a generation even. A generation ago, why are kids more ready for kindergarten and they're not now? Well, I think my frame of reference is there's two components. One is, as a society, we've changed, we're just busier. I think there's more stress out there in the world. Sometimes you're more involved in maybe sandwiching, taking care of somebody who's older, at the same time taking care of somebody younger. Maybe you commute and it's harder to get to all this. There is no judgment. It's just a reality that we're a little bit busier than we used to be. And I think the second component is that the kindergarten standards are more intense than sure that we're upping the ante, preparing them so they can be successful, so that they can be confident, have confidence. This is a joyful time in childhood, and we don't want it to be depressed with a lot of pressure. If we build up their skills first, they'll be able to soar a little bit faster. All right, this picture. Babies need tummy time, and babies need to crawl. And we're all familiar at this point with SIDS that came up years and years ago, and they said, back to sleep, back to sleep. And then they came around to, oh my, with all this back to sleep, we're missing out on tummy time. And why is tummy time important? Wow. It's all about proximal stability again, and to prepare you for distal mobility. So if you're lying on your back for your input into your body versus belly down, how we develop is to go into extension with our arms and our head up to get us into that position where we're going to start to crawl. And that's when the magic happens. The magic happens when babies crawl. Not just babies. Shoot, I really mean this. Toddlers, get your kindergartners, any opportunity you can to crawl. It is just fantastic. Remember those concepts we just touched on, saying handwriting is not just in the hands, fine motor is not just in the hands. If you go back and you look at crawling, the stability, look at her shoulder girdle and her trunk control in that position. And then we talk about sensory information. You receive a lot of information through your skin, muscles, and joints. So if she's weight bearing on all fours like that, her brain is getting absolutely fed and energized. She's getting both sides of her brain because she's using both sides of her arms and her legs. Sensory experience, is she crawling on carpeting? Is she going over on the wood floor next? What's the environment like in this place versus that place? Visual perceptual. All right, so she's starting out and she's right there. Maybe she has a Cheerio or something and she's happy and she's right here. And over there is this toy that looks really cool. What is she going to do? She's going to start crawling. So she's looking down here, crawling. She's looking over there. Where am I? I'm over there. Guess what? Far and near distance is developing with those visual perceptual skills. It's like we were made to evolve this way with the crawling. And then as an OT, what I really like is we talk about hand arches. When you crawl, if you look at your hand, should not be straight flat. We have these muscles, thenar muscles, hypothenar muscles, and it creates this awesome palmar arch. Even if you stroke into that, it's like your thumb just starts to rotate. That helps us function in life, is to get that palmar arch. So even if a child has learned and mastered crawling, we're always putting them right back on the floor through a crawl tube or some kind of fun Olympic stations that they have to meander through, and just continue to get them crawling. Just a couple more focus points on problems, then we're going to move on to what we can do about it. Have you heard of bucket babies or container kids? That's just a jargon term of what's happening in our societies is we tend to have our kid in the infant car seat carrier that just automatically unlocks, that goes into a stroller, that goes into a store, and often these kids are in a static position the whole time. And that's great for safety, and I have 3 kids, and that third one at swim lessons was often my bucket baby. And I'm not trying to judge as much as inform. When this child is lying in this position, that proprioception input that we talk about, skin, muscles, and joints, he's just solid on their back. They're not getting a lot of engagement with sensory experience. With the straps coming down, think about visual motor, how much your head's going to be moving inside that container, and interaction with others. So look over at kiddo number 2 here on the hip. Look at that trunk rotation. Look at that neck rotation. The head. You're going to get more social engagement. Oh, isn't he so cute? Isn't she adorable? And the laughter in the eyes. And going from this range of motion in the baby level, you're not always going to be able to change that, but I think it's a good conversation point to have with parents so that they are aware there are younger kids. This is something that we can do more, is to get them out of those static positions. And technology. Our life is better because of it, and sometimes when we're talking about having our kids and working on development, it can be a little bit worse. So I was just looking up on the American Academy of Pediatrics, and their latest update, I think it was October 2016, for the preschool age, the amount of time that they would like for screen time is an hour or less, high quality, with the parent, so you can monitor, and not before bedtime, because we are reading more and more statistics with the light that comes through on the screen can interfere with sleep. Sleep is essential for kids to learn. So we want to make sure that we're not overdoing the technology. And I can say, as an occupational therapist, we have this hang up, this thing, we keep talking about proprioception, input, skin, muscles, and joints. Boy, that swipe of the iPad and that near visual, I would rather have that kid, throw a cool toy down there, make them crawl, and then go get that letter A. And they can come back and they can trace that letter A. There are some awesome apps. There really are for tracing letters and all that. But don't displace it. Don't take away from real human interaction, face-to-face social interaction, absolutely playing with peers. But we can't take away from activity in the real life just for technology, saying, well, it's educational. It has a place, but be very mindful of how we develop as human beings, not to overdo that. All right, 2 important hand skill sets that are essential for school success. So now we're moving on to what you can do about how you can do things. This is based on my years of experience and what I've been seeing changing in the school system. So this is totally, you're not going to Google this and find this. It's just what I'm bringing to the table tonight. The 2 things that keep coming up for me is that whole hand strength, that grasping and arch, that strength is missing. Lots and lots of flat palms coming in. And if your thumb does not rotate with that femur muscle, you're just not going to be able to have those pinches going on. I have kids trying to do everything like this. So right now, if you even just take a moment and cup your hand, like going to Vegas, put those dice in there, shake, shake, shake. How many of you could hold 2 dice, huh? We want to have that nice deep palmar arch going on for function. And this is so simple, but it's so hard for these kids. So I will just take a ball, like I said, preschool level, a very small group of children with many adult helpers, having them sit crisscross applesauce in a circle, where you can monitor them because these are school tools, not school toys. They look like toys. But we would work on hand grasping. We talk about this web space. The web space is what we want. Open up the web space for thumb rotation and grasp. And it's that simple of just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have bigger balls for larger hands. But this is what I'm getting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, no. Wrap that thumb. Wrap it right here. Put it right on his mouth and squeeze. And it is so hard for them. This is so simple, dollar store stuff. Just a ball and working on hand grasp. Huge. We make a huge difference. And this one is really fun. Learning to separate the sides of your hands. We call this stability, mobility. That comes into play. We keep saying those words. But instead of stability being your core strength and mobility being distal, now we're going to talk within your own hand. So go ahead and put down the pizza. Tuck your ring and your little finger into the palm, and then you're going to tap your thumb and 2 fingers together. That's stability, that's mobility, and that's how we teach kids how to hold their crayons. So I have a very, very we do kindergarten roundup. We talk about trips to the beach, and then I say, hey, I found a little friend at the beach. Would you like to meet him? He's a little shy. Could you welcome him? And he is our crab. And we do tap, tap, tap like the crab. Hello. And say, just boys and girls, does he have a thumb and 4 fingers like we do? No. What does he have? That's a clock. You're right. It's a letter C. Clock. He has a clock. He doesn't use a thumb and 4 fingers. This is how he says hello. Can I teach you the crab hello? And then we all learn to tuck down these 2 fingers. And we go tap, tap, tap like the crab hello. And with that, one way that helps them remember is we say, guess what? When you do that, it's your secret sign down, boys and girls, because you could put a penny in there. You could put a little toy in there, maybe a Skittles in there. You could put a tiny rock or a beach pebble in there, and I wouldn't even know what it is. Let's play secret side down. And you could have a collection of things, and they pick something, and they try to tell you what it is while they're keeping secret side down. And look at that, with that tap, 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 like the crab hello. And then I'll say, oh my goodness, boys and girls, did I pull a duck out? No, I didn't, because I am seeing some ducks. I didn't say quack, 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 and that's showing me weak hands. We have muscles that begin and end within our hand, and we have muscles that begin way back here, above our elbow, that come down. And to get hand right and to get function with hands, we balance out intrinsic, extrinsic muscles. So the duck quack, that's just using the muscles in your hand. So we pull it back, we bounce, shiny again. Letter C, crab, claw, say hello. Don't pinch your neighbor, we're staying in our bubbles. That's right. Yes, I see you can do 3 crab pillows. Yes, I see you're doing 3 crab pillows. We're just going to do 1. We're going to do 1 crab pillow, and we're going to stay in our bubble. So they talk back and forth to each other, and they get that down. There's a couple of cute ways that I also bring that into coloring and handwriting. And I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of this song. Or how many of you are familiar with Handwriting Without Tears? Use that. I love it. I'm not going to play the whole song because I don't think I have permission to play the whole song. But we have the little crayons. Here's a crapula. The little crayon song is my thumb is bent, pointer points to the tip, tall man uses his side. I tuck my last 2 fingers down and I take them for a ride. And this is how it goes, much better than me singing.
This is easy to do. Make a fake crayon, I'll just tell my fingers what to do.
My thumb is bent, pointer points to the tip. Tall man uses his side. Here's that tuck my last 2 fingers in, and I take them for a ride. Now I'm holding it just right, not too tight. Every finger knows what to do. And now I have a big surprise for you. This is fun. Drop it again. Boom, boom, boom. So if you're a Handwriting Without Tears fan, they have so many hands-on products, but they also do this cool stuff with music, and they incorporate their music into a tactile product that helps you learn how to do your letters. Let's see. See side down. Oh, wrist on the table. All right, that's developmental, but eventually we do want to get a wrist on the table. Okay, Linda, you want to pass out some pencils? Let's just practice like developmental grasp on the pencil. I'll use the big one. As she's passing those out, I'm going to let you know that we try to have kindergartners learn to keep their wrists on the table. We call it keep your skateboard down. Pretend you go skateboard wheels. Spin, spin, spin. And we just touch the wrist. Doesn't really matter which one of those carpal bones you're touching. Just to get them down. Spin, spin, spin. All of us have their skateboards hard to do, but I'm going to have you try it with that pencil that just came around. Remember I said those lumbrical muscles, the ones that are just in the palm of your hand, kind of make it like a duck. Can you do that? Do that. This is developmental. And then they grab their pencil like that. So they're getting the bouncing out. They're trying to figure out how to use the different muscles in their hands. There's that gross grasp, and then they're using a lot of the ones that are down here, but they're starting to learn how to balance out the ones on top and below. And then we get to that age, 3, 4, and they get their thumb down and their index finger down, pointing towards the tip like this. And by doing this, it's more static, but they're getting it towards the tip. And then finally, and not everybody has to have this dynamic, amazing tripod with the open space, fingers totally tucked down, dynamic tripod, but we go for that. That's our ultimate goal, is to have that tap, 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 like a crab hello. So that is something that we do with our kids, is to get them, oh, wait for it, wait, see it? Boom! That crab hello you just gave me? Look at you, dude. You just put a crayon in your hand. That's exactly how you color. So we go from crab hello into holding that with your pencil. So sometimes all we can just say, oh, remember like the crab hello. They love saying hello, but then when it comes to the crayons, like, oh, let's work on that. Let's get back to that 3-point pitch and tuck those fingers in. Don't forget stick it side down. So you can see, even in kindergarten, it's a lot of work. Oh, skateboard wheels, feet on the floor, tuck your stick side down, crab hello. Their little heads are spinning themselves. It's a lot. So anything that we can do in preschool to get those muscles and the fine motor coordination going, that's going to help. Things that help for holding a pencil. Has anybody heard of the pinch and flip, where you put it at an angle so the tip is actually pointing towards the kid, and they have to pinch it, and then they just flip it? That helps. Practicing those little flip crayons that Kristen was so kind to get you all in your bucket. Flip crayons have one half that is one color, half the other. This is another handwriting without tears product. I've seen flip crayons before to come in, I think, eight different colors. And we have the kids pinch it and then flip, and that practices the muscles in your hands for fine motor as well. Also, if you want to try this out later on, it's amazing. For these little teeny tiny hands, often little teeny tiny pencils and little teeny tiny crayons work better. If you want to try this just for fun, and you can pretend it's completely educational, but if you just want to try this for fun, it'll be over here at the end of the presentation. The weight of a longer pencil and a tiny hand does make a difference of them controlling it, especially if they come in with weak hands. Those are a couple things to consider. Smaller pitchers help finger muscles get stronger. Large pitchers use the whole arm. You know, like if you were going to do a picture of a house, if there's a large house and they're getting fatigued, so they're going to use their elbow, they're going to use their shoulders. That's something to take into consideration, is to do a little bit smaller pictures. Okay. Any questions about this so far? I feel like I've done quite a bit on this slide. We're good? Nope. All right, the donut shop and the flip crayons. All right, so here's a picture of the flip crayon, and you should have those in your bag. And how good that is to practice flipping before you get coloring. It kind of is a warm-up. And then this donut shop. Kristen, do they have a handout on the donut shop, I think? We'll check in their packets. This is something that we have the kids practice coloring. And if you can look up here. On the sheet, the arrows are actually going counterclockwise, time to frost the donuts. And the reason we do that is because, especially in handwriting with tears, if you think about lowercase c, we call it magic C, you start and it's counterclockwise. So we're going to have them color and learn to color counterclockwise. Can they color both directions? Absolutely. Yes, we encourage a lot of different kinds of strokes, and vertical, horizontal, diagonal, both ways to color. But on this specific sheet, it's nice to have them get those skills of going counterclockwise and filling up the donut hole for the small pans or maybe the larger on the outside. And that'll prepare you for letter O and letter D and letter Q and on and on. Those are the strokes that matter, mastering that circle. Let's see if this video plays.
Lisa, we can send that out electronically to everybody.
Oh,
So those
okay.
of you that did not register online, just make sure you give us your email before you go, and we'll get it sent to you all electronically.
What was the trick on this? Oh, that. Maybe the arrow, right? This one has a lot of sound to it. But you see how he's just really carefully keeping that secret side down and counterclockwise, color, color, color in. And this one is the crab handout that I give to my kindergartners when I talk about the crab below. I did this one on purpose because there's those little teeny tiny eyes. We're doing teeny tiny circles. And the legs, we're going to work on a little diagonal strokes on that. And he's going round and round. And now can you kind of see he's starting to shift his paper a little bit to make it easier to color instead of moving his arm and his hand. And that's kind of typical, but just being a little mindful of, have you seen kids do that where instead of changing the direction of the crayon, they turn the paper? All right, how to color. This is just basic information about using the variety of strokes, like in that little crab. So we do horizontal, we do vertical, across, circular, and having them change out their crayons and practice their flipping. The boundary lines, of course, we encourage that. That's visual perceptual skills, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It's really about having fun. We talk about stability. And some kids, it's a little too much all at once when we talk about feet on the floor, wrists down, secret side down, tap, 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 like a crab below. You can pop them down on their bellies or lying down on the floor, and they get that stability across their shoulder and their back, and they can do some coloring that way. Some kids can flip a binder or use, what's it called, the little table that we use for popping up. Anyways, like a binder, you use it to elevate your pictures. A slideboard. 2 points for Kristen. That you can clip it on, and that gets your wrist back into extension. In fact, that's kind of a little fun thing to do. Right now, if you just want to practice, if you just really relax and dangle down your wrist, and you just popped it back, most of us are going to come, and you can see how that thumb might not be a perfect tripod, but it tends to come back like that. So when we have those little slant boards or a binder that's flipped or working on a vertical surface, it's going to help us with that, getting that thumb and those fingers together. Pre-writing strokes. This is something that as OTs we're a little bit mindful of. It's okay, you know, to learn how to write your name at a younger age than say age 5 and 6 in kindergarten, because you're going to be motor planning over and over, tracing, copying. You're going to be learning those strokes, but it's hard to get all of that into all the letters of the alphabet, uppercase, lowercase, and then into words. It's great to learn how to write your name, but this is really the sequence that we look at as occupational therapists. What do kids first learn how to do when they're learning how to do their writing? Well, first they're going to scribble, but after that, like ages 2 to 3, that vertical, horizontal, circle, that's when they start to copy those shapes. Those are the basic shapes. And then you bump into ages more 3 and 4. They can do the circle without a model, just draw a circle, like they're beginning to do a face, and the cross. And then you start kicking into age 4 and 5, we get that square, we get those diagonals and the X. A little bit later, like age 6, might be the triangle. But if you look at these, vertical, horizontal, circle, and then the corners of the box, those are all developmental strokes that we need for learning how to do our printing. Our letter L is like the corner of the box. And all those letters we talked about, learning Magic C, what comes out of that O is a whole lot of letters. And you have to know their rights and their lefts and those diagonals. So those are things that letters and numbers too early. Just making sure, in fact, at the back of the writing book for handwriting without tears, they actually have a sheet that says kindergarten readiness and a little bit of coloring, and you can copy those designs just to get a sense of where your kiddos are at. Cutting with scissors. Now this is interesting because I don't think a lot of kids are cutting with scissors, doing arts and crafts like they used to. We'll often get them coming into school and they don't really know what this tool is or what to do with it. So with scissors, just the real basics on this. We teach them about the small loop and the big loop, and that your thumb goes into the small loop. This gets a little bit trickier. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as OTs, that pointer finger, we like it on the outside. It helps with the directional, when you start getting to curves and moving paper. And another cool thing about that, when we talk about those muscles that begin and end on the outside of your elbow, higher up from your elbow, that specific tendon, that muscle, it crosses over your wrist, so it gives you a little bit more stability. Without that, when they're all in there, it's just a lot easier to do that wrist flexion cutting. So I think that helps pop your wrist out into neutral. And when kids are doing that, that's just telling me, whoa, weak hands. You know, we've got to work on that extension and again that grasp up here in order to do this. So we talk about putting your pointer finger on the outside for stability, middle finger in the big loop, and secret side down. Most kids aren't that strong preschool to do all that yet. You might not get the pointer out, or if you do, you might get your other fingers in. It's okay. We can all cut a little bit differently. It's just nice to know what the ultimate is and how we do matters. So that's what we're looking at. And stability, mobility, here we go again. Keep your elbows tucked into your rib cage, and that's just a whole other set of joints that you don't have to worry about where are they in space. If they're tucked in, then they're right here. And you can tell the difference yourself if you do cutting and thinking about, even if you were going to thread a needle, if you're tucked in like this, you're going to be able to do things easier with your eyes and hands working together than that. Remember that first picture on one of those first pages where the elbow's hanging up in the air? So that's just something when they're learning a new tool. All right. I want to point something out that it's not much of a video, but I'll show it to you. He's right-handed, and there are such things as right-handed and left-handed scissors. And the way you can tell, the little loop and the blade comes up, he can see the line that he's cutting on. That blade comes up and his eyes are there, it's not blocked. If he switched those scissors to the other hand, he'd have to somehow manipulate the paper or his body to line his eyes up. So there are right and left-handed scissors. Most kids, by the time they're in kindergarten, are figuring out their dominance by age 6. And they're still saying nowadays like 90%, give or take, is right hand. 10, maybe up to 15% is left hand. And 1% are truly ambidextrous. It's nice to be mindful for kids what skills they have and who they really are, because it does make a difference how you line up the paper for writing or what kind of scissors that they would use. So he's stabilizing his elbows on the table, but his paper is not on the table. So he's still kind of tucked in there, but the paper is off of the table. And that's a beginning skill. You'll sometimes see that kids will keep that down on the table. Alrighty, we're going to talk a little bit more about fun activities, and I'll show you some videos, and you can ask me some questions after this. Hi, the goal of children, their occupation, what they do at this age is keep playing, and it's all for that gross motor stability. It's fine motor, it's visual perceptual, it's sensory. You have to play. So occupational therapy wish list of favorite things for preschool to do with kids. Bet you know this one. We should throw out candy. Crawling. How many of you would say crawling is important for preschoolers? Yes, it is. Crawling is very important. Anything with weight bearing through the hands. Do any of the schools or homes that you're in have those little therapy balls? And you can go belly down on the therapy ball and put one hand down and maybe put some Legos together with the other hand, or in and out, or playing with Play-Doh on top. Those are activities that you can do for weight bearing, animal walks, those sorts of things. Everything, getting those palm arches built. Vertical surfaces are amazing, so easy, whether it's window markers or you've got the easel, or I still use a chalkboard, and they just do wonders. So we already covered how important that is for that wrist extension when you flipped back and you kind of got that thumb and the finger together. It also helps with your core stability. And when you think about it, sensory experience for the kid to move from sitting to standing helps some kids a lot at that age, movement. And then how close your eyes are to the work that you're doing. It's that whole near and far. You're really paying attention to detail. There's just so much more that's going to do: fine motor, gross motor, perceptual, visual motor. But when in doubt, crawl, weight bear, vertical surfaces. For Play-Doh fun, you can't go wrong with Play-Doh. Play-Doh is our friend. Put it on the table. And we have coffee clips. We all know the basic, rolling with a tube and pinching, so we've got some of those on there. But there might be a few other things that you haven't seen before, or seen how he's doing it. So I taught him secret side down. So when he's doing that rolling, he's getting that wrist extension that we talked about. Remember with cutting, we said, somebody's not using their wrist extensors. They're cutting like this. When you're doing that, anything with a rolling pin and that Play-Doh, your hands are going up and you're building that strength. Then you come into secret side down, pinch, 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 pinch. There you're building up your tripod again. And then there's some other little fun ones in here. And Kristen, that's your son.
Make a ball. Good job. And poke with your finger. Poke, poke, poke. Good job. Make a ball. Can you put some toothpicks in?
So that's 2-point pinch.
Awesome. All right, take those out and let's play hide and seek. Put something in and find it.
They love that one, and they're the cutest little plastic toys nowadays that are put in there.
Ah, there it is. Good job. All right, make a ball. And flatten with your hand. Make a ball again. And smash it. Good job.
I just want to show too, you don't have to buy those fancy kits for Play-Doh. You can just use household items. A lot of things we did on this video is household.
And flatten. All right, let's see some animal prints.
This is fun.
Good job. All right, make a ball. And roll it out with a rolling pin. Nice job. Cookie cutter. And decorate. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Ta-da! Thank you so much.
Kristen, tell me, does he have a tripod grasp on his crayons?
Please say yes. Lie. You can talk about.
All right, I don't even remember what this one is. Let's check it out.
Secret side down pinch. cut.
Oh, this is good for beginning cutting. It doesn't have to be thin welded paper. You can use cardstock and aluminum foil and Play-Doh.
Awesome. Alright, and make a small ball, secret side down.
Oh, this is really tough. You guys should try this at home.
Round and round and round it goes.
Make a very small marble out of Play-Doh. Play-Doh with secret side down is a lot of in-hand manipulation skills.
I did give him a gift certificate to G Builders or something, didn't I? Okay. He did awesome.
All right, and this is good. Fine motor, home activities. I can't remember. It's a couple minutes long. It's a bunch of activities, but if you look carefully, there's like duct tape, painter's tape, cookie boxes. It's just stuff that you can have at home. You do not have to spend a lot of money on home activities.
Good job. Put another one on. Fantastic. All right, Kira, put that to the side.
And you have those little gator tweezers in your bag. And these are just dollar store cut up sponges and a dollar store ice cube tray. And those are just cut up Q-tips. I don't know if you can see that. I just snip them in half, and then he's popping them into a teeny tiny container. Okay, this is just a dollar store colander. You can flip it over and use little pipe cleaners and pop them in one and the other. You can do crazy hat parade or just practicing. Next. I think that's a Pringles container. You probably use tennis ball container. Because a cinnamon spice container. See how much trouble he's having opening that? Just let him struggle. Let him work on those hand muscles to get that open. Some toothpicks. See the difference with that one? He used his shoulder and internally rotated rather than keeping his elbow down and wrist extension. That's kind of a developmental when we talk about grasping. These are dollar store potato chip clips. And there goes his shoulder up again, and part of it is he's not sitting down, he's standing up. But that's how he's guiding rather than elbow tucked and wrist back. It's okay. We use all different kinds of muscles when we do things. It's just one of those things to be mindful of. How is my kid doing what they're doing?
on Secret Side Down, isn't he? He's so cute.
Okay, and I think that is all my notes. That is really about, we're here for them. When I say we're the coaches, we're the trainers, our superstars are those kids, the 3-year-olds, the 4-year-olds, the 5-year-olds. That is our job to help them become all they can be. And that beginning slide that I had is like developing hands, but it's developing confidence. And if you have confidence combined with school and skill sets, boy, you're going to have some joy. And that's what we want with our kids, is that confidence and that budding joy, and then they can apply it to learning. So I am available for questions or to try out that very cool pencil and some of my favorite toys I brought, those sorts of things if you'd like to. Any questions? And I also have some other handouts if you wanted, like American Academy of Pediatrics or Scissor Skills, links, those sorts of things. All right then, I think, oh yes.
I want my questions.
Okay.
Sorry. The Secret Side Down, when developmentally is that, like? Is it
That's more like 4 to 5. So when we talk about, like, we're applying that with that grasp, you can use it for function. I should say that is more for how you're going to hold your pencil at age 4 to 5, your crayon. But you can do that skill set when they're younger. You might get a little bit more shoulder with it. You might get a little bit more flatter. But playing that game and to get that stability is great for a task. But then to apply it into function and academics is a little bit trickier.
Okay, and that trick where you had the little potato chip clasps or whatever, you want them to do the...
If they're strong enough, if they're not, it's okay. And like those little tongues that you have, and here I am, and I'm blasting a lot on Secret Side Down, and this is what we want for kindergarten age, but keep in mind developmentally, you're not going to get that when you're 2, 3, 4, or even maybe a 5-year-old that has some developmental delays, a premature birth, or just how their body is, their skill sets are developing more for gross motor and speech. They're a little delayed in fine motor, that sort of thing. So it's okay when if you had a 2.5-year-old and if she was holding it with 4 fingers and a thumb, that's just how we develop. It's where you want to go. You don't have to start there. All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll take some pizza home.
We're getting better. Those of you who have been to our other workshops, we're getting closer to the correct amount of
All right, we're going to leave home.
I think we're about 25. Thank you, Lisa. Outstanding as always. As Lisa said, please take your pieces off the table with you. There's 1 or 2 extras over there. It would be less cleanup for us, so we would greatly appreciate it. Water bottles, you've got a goodie bag with some of the supplies. If you would do us a favor and give us some feedback, we want this to work for you all. We want it to work for the community. So let us know what we can do to help spread the word. If you like what you saw tonight, help us build up our momentum. Those of you that did not pre-register, if you would do us a favor and make sure you give us your email, we will get that donut handout forwarded to everybody electronically. When we forward that out, we'll also forward a link so that if you would like to watch Lisa again, you may watch her again. And I know she'd be more than happy to answer any other questions. So if you want to go up individually and stuff, while we clean up, we'd be happy to do it. Yes, and there's the certificate of attendance. So as you're leaving, if you want to give Jen